This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Sean Preston.
Welcome to another episode of the Good Neighbor Podcast. Today we have a rock star neighbor on with us, and that is Richard Turner from Modern PURAIR. What's going on, brother?
Oh man, thanks so much for having me.
Super pumped to have you on the show. We connected on the phone. You had a couple of questions of what it was like to be on, and me and you just kind of hit it off. I think we're kind of cut from the same cloth from what I can see so far. So I've been pretty excited to have you on and learn a little bit about you and learn a little bit more about your business as well.
Yeah, for sure. And as you know, too, this is my first podcast, so take it easy on me.
Yeah, I will. We'll throw you like 4 or 5 curve balls when you're not expecting it, so don't worry.
Oh, anything less. There we go.
Cool, man. Well, let's dive right into it. For our listeners, tell us a little bit about your business.
I own a franchise business called Modern PURAIR. We do indoor air quality and duct cleaning services. So furnace and air duct cleaning would be our core business. And then we get into all different types of things, any real ducted HVAC system. So HRVs, we do a lot of bathroom exhaust, a lot of dryer vents. And we do this for residential customers, but we also do quite a bit of commercial, industrial, and institutional work. So cleaning schools, universities, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, air quality is such an important thing, and if you can't see it, it's one of those things that you just don't know. And I don't think you know this about me, but when I was 18, and then about a year and a half ago, I had another little stint for about 9 months. I used to sell the Rainbow vacuum cleaner, if you know what those are. Yep. And for those who are listening that don't know, it's the best vacuum cleaner on the market. It's really a certified air purifier, uses water as a filter, but it converts into a cleaning tool, can clean your whole house. And so I've got a little bit of a background into kind of air quality, understanding that component. So when you were coming on the show, I was like, I know a little bit about this stuff, so I'm going to relate here, maybe ask you a couple of extra questions that I've been racking my brain around, just to try to educate our audience. That's what it's all about, is knowing how important the air is that you breathe, even what happens when you open the windows in the summertime, because you want fresh air in your home, but really there's a lot of stuff that's out there that's now coming in your home. Maybe educate us a little bit on some of that stuff.
For sure. I love that you just said that, because you hit the nail on the head. And really for what we do, the furnace and air duct cleaning and all that stuff that I just mentioned is our core business. We also do air quality testing. We do air purification and some in-furnace stuff and some extra like filtration and whatnot. And so the name of the game for us and the way that I can best explain it is, if you've never had your system cleaned before, you can clean your system and then you can maintain that cleanliness through filtration and purification. Keeping the dust and going into your vacuum a little bit. If you're able to keep the dust, because dust is everywhere, skin cells, dust mites, it's really disgusting. And I could kind of go into that, but I don't want to gross everybody out, but dust is made of a bunch of different things, like bug parts and all this kind of stuff. And so if you have a good cleaning regimen in your house, you're vacuuming and you're keeping the dust and the junk off the floor, then as you're walking by it, as you're moving through your house, you're naturally agitating the fine dust and particulate. And I know everybody's seen it when you're looking, through the sun's coming through your window and you can see the dust floating in the air, right? That stuff is so fine, it'll pass right through your standard furnace filter. And so it just accumulates in there over time. And so a lot of people, what I've learned is a lot of people are conscious of the water that they drink and the food that they eat. And I think it's just because it's been popularized. Everybody's seen Super Size Me. I remember when my mom got our first reverse osmosis system, right? Because how bad chlorine is. And so like these things have really been in the forefront of health for, a couple of decades now, maybe even longer. But people don't really think about the air that they breathe. And I would argue that it is the most important because you're breathing every single day, every single second of every single day. And so if you're in a dusty environment, you know, it's filling your lungs, it's filling your nose. And so a lot of our customers have never had their systems clean before, and they're snoring, they're coughing and sneezing all the time. And when you get your system cleaned, like, a lot of these people notice an immediate difference. And to really kind of drive it home, and sorry if I'm going on a little bit here.
Keep going.
When we hire a new technician, we put them through this great training and all this kind of stuff so they know exactly what they're doing. The first thing I have them do is clean their own house. I do that for, you know, a couple of reasons. Number one, they can take their sweet time and just really figure it out without anyone being there, because there is a little bit of pressure when you've got a homeowner there and stuff like that. You want to make sure you're doing a good quality job for these folks, and so there's that element. The second thing is, if they mess something up, it's in their own house. I'm just kidding. They're trained well. They're not going to mess it up. But the most important thing is that I really want them to experience it. I've had technicians, like technician and his wife, who were snoring for years, and they cleaned their system, and I lent them one of my air purifiers, and they stopped snoring the next day.
Whoa.
And it's these small things, but once it's just like anything in life, you know, when you just take on a regular job, whether or not you just, and not that this is a regular job, but it depends on how you approach it. And if you really buy in. And so the whole purpose of doing that is to get that buy-in, and so that they experience it for themselves. And then when they're communicating that to customers, it's just much more effective because they're living it.
You're going to get me on this topic. I talk about this topic all day because I understand the importance. Like, you're talking about eating and drinking. Well, you know, that's why we got stomach acid. That's why we have a liver. Like, a lot of these things that our body takes care of this. Now, our lungs regenerate, but they don't regenerate like our liver does. It takes a really, really, really long time for them to regenerate. And a lot of people can develop other symptoms, other allergies over time. So it is really a preventative measure in making sure that you're taking care of the quality in your own home. You have to clean less. You don't find as much dust all over your house. And if it solves other problems, like if you're snoring and that solves your problem, I mean, who wouldn't want to do that? I know my fiance would be all over that.
You know a lot about this. I should put you on the payroll.
That'd be a lot of fun. I mean, when you're, knowledge is power, right? I mean, that's why I love what we're doing right now. Just, because you're the professional. I've got a bit of background in it. But, spreading that message, if you don't think about it, like, everyone's busy. We live in the digital age of people that don't have that much of a capacity for time span as much as what it used to be, stuff like that. So you get busy. And how many times do you talk to people on a week-to-week basis and they're like, man, it's already the end of November already. Can you believe that? It's just because everyone's just so busy doing what they're doing all the time. And if it's not talked about or you don't come across, it's like, oh shit, I didn't really think of that before. And
it's a good point. And I think just in general, what we do is out of sight and out of mind. Who's opening up their registers and their vents and looking inside and being like, oh my goodness, they're full, and we see this even more in the commercial space. We'll go into factories where they're cutting and grinding. We do work with auto manufacturers and all this kind of stuff. And so they're cutting, grinding, welding. There's fumes and all this kind of stuff. And there's one door that separates production from the office space. You'll have guys in a weld shop that are wearing full-on respirators, PAPRs, which is like a SCBA, like a fireman would wear, just to protect them from like harmful fumes and things like that. Every time you open up that door, a little bit of the particulate comes in, gets sucked up through the return, and we'll go into these facilities. They don't know that they have a problem or that there's an issue, but you look up at the diffuser and it's jet black all the way around it. And so it's, again, out of sight, out of mind, and you don't know what you don't know. And so for us, it's like we identify the problem and we're like, hey, this is what you have going on. And when it starts to accumulate on the diffuser, for example, it's already so loaded in your system that every time the fan is running, and this is the same in your house too, every time the fan is running, it's not like it's taking all the dust and spreading it everywhere, but it's taking a small amount off the top or in the corners or whatever have you, and just spreading a little bit of around the house, and it's just circulating every day. And then you'll notice that that dust is falling on your horizontal surfaces. And so when people call us, a lot of the time it's because it's so bad. And then there's a lot of people that are in the know that are really health conscious. We find that, some of our key customers are, I wouldn't say even key customers, but some of our more conscious or conscientious customers have, possible health issues or autoimmune issues. Or we also find, athletes and really like health conscious people who just understand how important it is to live a healthy, balanced life. What we do, it's not something that you need to do every year. If you're maintaining a good, clean environment, we recommend getting your ducts cleaned every 3 to 5 years. And that really depends on a bunch of different factors. How many people are living in the house? Do you have pets? Are they dander producing pets, right? Like cats are they're tough because they shed a lot of hair and they produce a lot of dander. Same with dogs and things like that, like a husky. Oh my goodness, like the fur that gets sucked into these systems. And so it's really cool to have and what we do too, I think it's important to know, duct cleaning it's a tough business. There's a lot of scams out there. There's these $99 deals where someone comes in and they just create a mess in your house. And then and I don't even really want to get too much into that, but people don't know who to trust in this space. And so a lot of our customers, when we first get to their house, they're a little bit, standoffish, and they want to understand. So our process is so fantastic. We walk you through exactly what we're going to do, how we're going to do it. And then we show you what's in your system before we even start cleaning it. And then customers informed and they get it. And then, so as we're kind of going through the process, we use like a contact cleaning system. So we're scrubbing that ductwork clean, sending everything into this big HEPA vacuum. And then since we use a big HEPA vacuum and it's portable, we bring it right down to the furnace. Every customer gets their own bag. And so we literally show you what comes out of the system afterwards.
That's cool.
And so people are like, from the start, you've got, someone who's like questioning it, or I would say, I don't want to say a non-believer, but they're just like, oh, I don't know, they're a little bit, on edge. And then, after we're done our 3-4 hour process, and then we show them what comes out, to see their eyes light up and they're like, wow. Right. And then even it goes further because they'll call us after and say, oh my goodness, you changed my life. Like, I'm not snoring anymore, for example, and whatever. Right. So it's kind of cool to go through all those different like stages. Right.
100%. I do want to touch on one point of what we were talking about there, but I think that's going to go hand in hand with one of the other questions I'm going to ask you a little bit later on. But even with that answer, you got me curious. Everyone does what they do. They love what they do. But what's interesting to know is that we get to find out the backstory of how you got into doing what you're doing. It's the journey, right? Some people come out of the womb. They know exactly what they're doing. They get into that job. They retire in that job. And then other times, maybe it's 1 stepping stone, 2 stepping stones. Sometimes it's 48 stepping stones until they finally land on what they're really, truly passionate about, and then roll with that into the sunset. So what was your journey like leading up to doing what you're doing today?
Oh my goodness. My story's not that great, but it's kind of funny because I've been in sales roles for, in my 30s. I'm 39 right now. And so I have a young family, and we had moved into, this is like during COVID. And so I was selling through distribution, Ontario to BC. I was selling these hydraulic lift gates for a wonderful company. And I had a great, balanced life. But obviously during COVID, there was no traveling happening. And so I just had a lot of time to kind of reflect, and I kind of had a glass ceiling of, where I was, but my life was so great. I didn't want to, I was just in a tough spot. And they always say, that's the most dangerous place to be, because if you're really unhappy, it incites change. But I was good. I loved my life, and I kind of had this, but I always wanted more.
Yeah.
And so I looked at my wife one day, because I wasn't working that hard. I couldn't, but I was still getting paid, and I'd done all this great work developing these customers. So they were still buying from us, but it was just a different transaction. Instead of me flying out to go see them, it was just all done over the phone, and my role had kind of changed. And I looked at my wife one day, and I was just like, so is this it for me? Like, I'm just going to be selling these lift gates for the rest of my life? And not that there's anything wrong with that, but I just, like, that was the start of it. And so I love this, because I've said it so many times, but an ad for Modern PURAIR came across LinkedIn. And so I go to my wife, right? Like, and so at the time I was like just trying new things. So I was renovating a house. I renovated our unfinished basement in a house from the studs up, watching YouTube videos.
Wow.
I did the drywall. I did the electrical. I mean, I got it all certified and all that kind of stuff. I did the plumbing. I did everything. And through that, I learned that, the information is out there. If you have the energy and the want and the desire, you can do whatever you want. And so that was like for me, the foundation of, okay, I can do whatever I want. So anyway, the ad comes across LinkedIn, and I walk up to my wife, who's like upstairs, because, like, again, just during COVID, I had a 6-month-old child at the time, our first baby. And I said to her, I go, hey, this ad for a duct cleaning business came up, Modern PURAIR. She's like, get out of here. Are you kidding me? Right? Like, and it was just kind of like a funny thing. Right. So I was like, oh, whatever. And I just went back to the basement and started working, doing drywall or whatever. So we sold that house. And so then you have 3 months of, and so, like, I had almost finished the basement. I hadn't done the flooring yet. And I had a lot of, I've done flooring before anyway, so it didn't matter. But I was like, well, I'm not going to do the floor now. Like, the house is sold. So I had 3 months of basically sitting around again, trying to not sitting around, but, working minimal at the job, and really just trying to figure it all out. The ad comes back in, right? I see another ad. And so I didn't even look at any other businesses before I started. And so without telling my wife, I just started going down the rabbit hole, right? Started doing the research, just found that, generally duct cleaning businesses are, unprofessional. The customer service traditionally isn't there. I started doing some market research in our area. And I just felt like the solution that we provide and the way that we approach it is superior to what I've seen. And fortunately for me, the market has kind of responded and is consistent with my original thoughts there. But that's it. Like, it's not very, like, glamorous or anything like that. But when I started researching it, it made sense. And I felt like it is an underserviced part of the market. The fact that COVID was happening had no bearing on me doing this, because, I mean, people that might not agree with this, but what I am mostly concerned with, and because I got young kids that are in daycare and in kindergarten. So right. What I want to protect against, and I think the big killer is particulate. Your germs and your bacteria and things like that. That's why we have these immune systems. If you're immune compromised, absolutely, like UV lights and all that kind of stuff it has its place. But quite frankly, for me, I don't want that stuff in my house, because I want to build up my immune system, because my kids are bringing it home anyway. And so, do you know what I mean? And so, like, those are, so like that, it just resonated with me. And so then when I started doing the research, I was like, okay, this makes sense. And then I can do this. And so people are like, oh, so you're so passionate about duct cleaning. I laugh, and I'm like, I am now. I love this business, and it makes sense. But what I ultimately wanted was, I wanted to be a business owner and create great jobs and educate people, and just duct cleaning is the conduit to which I do that.
Love everything you're saying. We feel the same way, Jeff and I. We got a great business community here, and I get to meet wonderful people. And that's why we wanted to put on the show, because now we get an opportunity to be able to share that. Awesome story. You think it's lame. I was like completely engaged. I'm rocking in my chair for those who aren't see me on video right now. It's just really cool stuff, man. To get to know another good person that lives in our community that actually gives a shit about their customers. And that's going to lead us into the next question, which is, what are the myths? What are the misnomers out there? I think people are already kind of shaking their head saying, yeah, there's a lot of businesses that are out there that they do a crappy job, a lot of scams out in that industry, stuff like that. But you're the one in the business, so I'll let you answer that.
For sure. So some of the myths, I don't know that there's a lot of myths. I think just with any business, either you care and you do a good quality job or you don't. And the way that I think any successful business that wants to have repeat customers should approach things is do a great job, no matter if someone's watching or not. What we do is very difficult and it's very difficult to show because we're cutting a small hole in your ductwork, we're attaching a big vacuum to it, and then we're cleaning it. And the only way for you to really inspect our work is to open up those cover panels and stick your head up there. And so for us, like, we show you what comes out of the system, but we also show, like, we do before and after pictures of every step in our process. And if the customer's home, which a lot of the time they are, and we see a nasty vent, like, especially when I was doing this, like when I first started, it was me, one truck in my driveway. Like, I quit this great job to do this. And so it really, I love that I did that because it really helped me understand who our customers are and really helped me understand this business and what some of the challenges people are facing and some of the questions that they have. But I would just say, hey, you got to come and take a look at this. Right. And I'll show them the vent, and then I would clean it. And I'd be like, now take a look at it. And then I'll show them the pictures, like, all the way down the run. And we're talking, 3 inches of dust and hair all around the vent. And then you hit it with the air and you send it into the vacuum. And it just, it's night and day. And so a picture's worth 1,000 words. But if you can show someone how you do it, and it just, not to make them a believer, but it's just, I love it. And I think it's really cool when people get to see it firsthand. And so some of the myths, and so with a lot of the $99 guys, and I'm sure there's been a lot of your viewers out there that have kind of fallen for this scam. Like, there's a flyer going around our community, $150 for duct cleaning. We're in your house for 3 to 4 hours. And so one of the challenges that we have is people are like, is price-based stuff. And I get it. Everybody's like watching their pennies and stuff like that. But when you really think about it, what are you really getting for $150? Where is that person coming from? Are they driving all the way from Toronto, an hour to come up here, paying somebody for that drive there and back? And then, like, how much work do you actually think that you're getting for it? So I think, just like anything in life, you get what you pay for.
100%.
Right? And then, so with a lot of the scams, their whole thing is efficiency. They'll come in and they'll clean your house in half an hour. Impossible to do it properly. When we cut in above like in your plenum, above your furnace. We put a coil block over top of your air conditioning coil to prevent any of the debris from falling down. When you hit the dust with air, it just goes poof and then gets sucked right into the vacuum. But a lot of the time we're dealing with wood chips, toys, food like Cheerios and dog food gets put down a lot of vents a lot of the time as well. And so when we run that through the system, we use compressed air, we're able to get it all out. But as it kind of gets towards the vacuum, if the vacuum's on the other side of the plenum, you're maybe 2 or 3 feet away. So the vacuum's not going to suck a big heavy piece of drywall in. It's just going to fall down. And what most companies will do is it just falls right down into your condensate pan or into the furnace, onto the air conditioning coil. And then either it just sits there, or where the scams come in is they'll say, okay, we cleaned all your ductwork, $99, and it's going to be $500 to clean your furnace. And then they show you all the junk that fell on the bottom of it. And that's what we come across quite a bit. And so a lot of the time what will happen is a customer will have that. They're, of course, miffed after that happens. And then they'll say, no, I'm not paying the $400 to clean the furnace. They keep the furnace off, and then they call us. And they tell us, hey, this is what happened. And then we'll be like, okay, And then what we always find too is that they're not using a contact cleaning system, so they're not agitating the dust inside the ductwork, because really the name of the game is like, yeah, you can spray a little bit of compressed air down each vent, but ultimately the dust inside inside ductwork, it coats all four sides of the ductwork. So it has to be agitated and lifted off, and then it goes into the vacuum. So using whatever company you use, make sure that they're using some sort of an agitation device that goes all the way down the ductwork. Even if you have a finished basement with drywall, we're able to stick our whip rods all the way down and they snake through the ductwork. And so the whip head that we use has these plastic tentacles that spread out 12 inches on each side and just beat the heck out of the inside of the ductwork. And it's a push-pull, right? So the air is pushing the dust towards the vacuum that's also pulling it in, right?
I love my job, man. I learn something new every day. I didn't know any of that stuff. That is just really good information at all. Probably people are listening to this going, man, really? That's how it works? That's good to know.
I don't even know if I answered like the whole myth question, but I think there is really, it's not that there's a whole lot of myths. What we do is very basic. And when you explain it to people, you're like, okay, that makes sense. Right. And then so when they see us do it and you see, like, you hear this thing rattling around inside the ductwork, like it's agitating the dust, right? Like we're using like high pressure compressed air. And so, like I said, it's all part of the process. They go through the whole thing. We walk them through it, and then they see it, they hear it. And like I said, they're a believer at the end of it. And then, our whole business, like I got to mention this, we obviously don't call people. Right. And because everybody gets that's one thing I do love about this business. I can relate to everybody because the scammers also call us, and I own a duct cleaning business. Right. So they don't discriminate. They call everybody. And so it's a tough business, but it's an interesting business at the same time, and it's fun.
Well, I've gotten a chance to spend a bit of time with you now. I can clearly tell you're a genuine human being, but you also do like to have a little bit of fun. And when we're business owners, and anybody who's listening to the show can clearly feel the passion that you have and how much you enjoy what you do. And when you enjoy what you do when you're a business owner, it's really easy to just go to work, because it's not really work. It's your passion. You believe in it. You enjoy it. You love doing it. And so, and this is the biggest difference between the best business owners and the other ones, is that business is a part of who you are. There's not any separate. But with that being said, you can work a lot and it doesn't really feel that much. And so there's a balance that's out there. I don't like to use that word because we'll tend to work a little bit more than we play. Balance is equal, but there is a harmony. It's that sweet tune, whether it's a riff on a guitar, it's a harmonica, piano, whatever riff, whatever tune that is your melody. Everybody has one. And so when you're not working on your business or in your business, what does Richard like to do for fun?
Oh man, I like you. So I love my business, but I business and family. I got two small kids. I got a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old. He's about to turn 5 in February. And so, as I'm sure you can imagine, they take up the rest of my time. But it's the best, and I'm so grateful to be in the spot that I'm in. The first couple of years it was really hard trying to get the business off the ground. And anybody who's started a business knows how challenging that can be. And so I made a lot of sacrifices at the start, and I was out of balance, working way more than I probably should have, and that my wife certainly wanted me to work. But I needed to get to a comfortable place, like mentally, because even when I was with my family and my kids, I wouldn't be there because I was stressed about this or that. And so we've done so great over the last 3-4 years that it's allowed me to find more balance and more harmony in my life. And so now I'm able to, I still wake up at 4:00 in the morning because that's when I'm my freshest. And so I'll work from 4 to 7, and then my boys wake up and I'm able to give them undivided attention until we take them to school and to daycare, make their lunches and do those things. I get to drive them, and I want to drive them to school. My wife, of course, helps with that kind of stuff. And then I work hard from, 8:30 till 4:30 from when they come back and when we pick them up. And then from 4:30 until 7:30 when they go to bed, it's all these kids, right?
You're dialed in.
Even now, like, it's funny because it gets dark at night and my boys, like, they love riding their bikes, right? And so, like, I'm out there in the pitch black pushing my kids down they're on the training wheels and stuff like that. And so that's honestly what I do for fun. We have a family cottage. Like, my dad has a cottage in Peterborough, so we'll do that stuff on the long weekends. I always shut the business down over the long weekends because I think it's important for while I work hard, all my guys work so hard, and we're all part of the same mission. And my guys really believe in what we do, and they provide the best service. Like, if you look at our Google reviews online, they're just exceptional. And so I'm really grateful for those guys. So when there is a long weekend, of course I have work and all that kind of stuff, but we shut it down. And so that everybody gets those 3 days at least. And then of course, like, everybody takes vacation time and stuff like that. But I will say I've yet to take a vacation. And it's not because I can't, it's because I really love what I'm doing and I don't really want to. But this year, my goal is I'm taking a week off and going somewhere with the family.
Yeah, have any things anywhere in mind where you're kind of thinking, like, obviously the kids are still pretty young, so there's some limitations there. Maybe Disney World, and is that in the cards? Maybe
my wife has taken my kids to Disney World for the last 3 years by herself, and she used to work at Disney, right? And so
really?
she's hardcore, and she knows where to go, how to do it, how to get efficient, like get on the rides, and like she's great. And so that is something that we want to do. But what I said, and there we go. Yeah. Are you a nut too?
Yeah, I'm a bit of a nut, and my fiance is a nut as well too. And I took her to the Disney Immersive in Toronto when we first started dating. The light show in there, it's all the best. For those who don't know what it is, it's all of the songs in a montage, but videoed on like this massive room. I think they moved; they're not there anymore. And these sweaters, for those on video, they can see the sweater. But I'm wearing a Disney sweater, rocking the Disney, and we bought these on the way out. They're super comfortable, actually very warm. And yeah, we're nuts. So we'll watch Disney. I can't wait to have kids. We both want to have kids, and in the not too distant future, either getting married in January next year, and then we're going to take, I think, two. I'm trying to push for 3. You only typically do it once. Go on your honeymoon and get all that out of the way, and then I want to do, the being a dad, and I think that's one of the most honorable things a man can be is be a father, be a dad, and it's going to be really cool because we are so nerdy, me and her. Like, some parents will, they're not into the Disney things, and that's okay. But so their kids will watch Disney. I grew up watching Disney, but like, man, I get to rewatch all of that, and I got an excuse to do it. It's like beautiful. Beautiful.
It's so, like you said at the very start, I think we're cut from the same cloth. We also went to the Disney immersive experience as well. It was super cool. We've taken our kids to, like, we were at Santa's Village this past weekend for like their Christmas thing, and we've taken them to Canada's Wonderland. There's no place quite like the way that these kids light up when they go there. It's because it's a completely different experience, right? And so I think it's a great place to go. And I think every kid, it would be great for every kid to be able to go there. But what I said to my wife, and before we had kids, like, we would backpack, like we did, Italy, Germany. And we would go hard. Like, we climbed Machu Picchu and like from the bottom, did the Huayna Picchu thing. Like, we were hiking all day. We'll do like the Algonquin stuff, backpacking and canoeing, portaging, and whatnot. And so for this, I said, on my first vacation off, I want to do nothing. I want to go to an all-inclusive that has like some amazing playground that these kids can just go nuts on, and we can just chill. I don't have to worry about making food. Whether or not the boss, agrees with that plan is another thing. But that's where my vote goes.
Very cool. Yeah, I've been to Rome once, but I haven't really I've got the bit of the travel bug, but not like crazy. Some people just love it. They need to go every year. And it's obviously there's a lot of pros to going and getting different experiences out there and stuff. But this honeymoon I'm taking it to the next level. Like we're flying into Rome, going straight down to Malta. We're going to be there for like 3 or 4 days. Then we're going up to Rome, 3-4 days there. Then we're doing another 4 days into Sicily. And then we're going to go back to Rome, fly up to France. And then we're going to do another like 8 days up there. Going to go check out Normandy, all the World War II stuff. I played every World War II video game. I love the history, crushed my tests, anything World War II. And of course, because we're the same person, my fiance's the same way. So we're going to go just kind of check out all the museums. And then of course we're big foodies. And if there's time, maybe see if we can sneak in one more spot in Spain.
That sounds like a really cool trip. The food, I'm pizza. Like I just ate pizza cause it was just easy and fast, but it's like the best pizza, and like even the pasta, like everybody says this, but it's so true. You can eat that stuff all day and you feel light. Like they don't put the same junk in their food that we get in North America. So, I was, light as a feather. But that'll be a really cool trip, and congratulations.
Thanks, man. Thanks. We're pretty excited about it. Lots obviously is going on with all the planning and all that fun stuff. So it's a busy time for us, and I'm looking forward to we're going to take 2 weeks off at the end of December and just shut it down. Everyone's been working pretty hard this year, and most of our people know we run our networking event every single month, and so there's some planning that goes in. And finally, December is just the 1 month because it's the holidays and everyone's so busy. You got to shop and get gifts and family, and you're getting together with everybody. There's one less thing for anybody to have to worry about, and then us too, because we don't have to plan it. So it's just kind of chill, take a break. And then next year will be crazy bachelor party. We got to go down to Florida like 3 or 4 times for a couple of things. My best friend who lives down there is my best man. He just built a house, so he's going to have a housewarming party. And so it's going to be a little crazy the second that the clock turns over, which is exciting stuff. But 2 weeks, shut her down, like you were saying. I don't want to think of anything. Just like let me veg.
Yeah. Great. And enjoy it. And they always say this too. Like I know you have kids in your future by the sounds of things. So everybody always said, enjoy it before you have kids and like do all the things that you want to do. And you're like, yeah. Like I even say to my wife, remember how we just used to like sit on the couch and like do nothing and just hang out with the two of us, like as you're getting to know each other. Man, I would kill for that sometimes.
Yeah, it gets said to me all the time, right? And you're saying it again. And I try my very best for people who have more experience than me in some of these things to let that sink in. And that time you said it, I'll try to allow that to sink in even more. And because we're doing like what you and your significant other we're doing, we the backpacking, Algonquin, like the camping, like all that stuff. We're doing all that right now. And we love doing all that stuff. And I know for a period of time you have to put that on the back burner. But so let me ask you a question, because everybody decides to pick their path in life, right? We pick that path, we walk that path, and it's the path of life, right? And life is not easy, because if it was, not because if it was, it's just not. Everybody knows it's not easy. But you have your good times, you have your not so good times, you have your challenging times, because life just throws things our way. And sometimes those are hardships, sometimes those are just obstacles, sometimes they're tragedies. Some people experience them more than other people do. And so I've always been fascinated, with the human beings, with their ability to be able to overcome a lot of this stuff, right? A lot of the mental component to it. It's all mindset. How we look at things, trying to pull the positive, seeing the glass half full, pulling silver linings from things. They're because we have to, right? Life moves forward. We move forward with it. And so we have to learn to adapt and then live with those things. And, growth can be challenging. It always usually comes when we're uncomfortable. Growing is uncomfortable, but you take those experiences and then you mold and you adapt, and it just compounds over time. And that eventually you grow into the person that, you are today. So I wanted to ask if you've ever experienced a life challenge, a hardship, maybe you overcame it, maybe made you better, maybe made you stronger, maybe you pulled some silver linings from it.
For sure. Yeah. Good question. Yeah, I've been through a lot of tough stuff. Mostly self-inflicted. And really, I think it stemmed from always trying to, when I was younger, and I know I'm relatively young now still, but when I was in my 20s and even younger in my teenagers, like going through high school, I always felt like I chose the easy path. Instead of studying hard in school, I didn't pay attention as much. And I went to class and I was doing all this stuff, but I wasn't really there. I didn't really use the time like I should. I was just messing around. And then when I did bad on a test, I'd be like, oh, well, I didn't really try, I didn't study, and just kind of the easy road. And, that kind of led me down a bad path where, a little bit of trouble with the law. And ultimately, I came to a crossroads where, you need to decide who you want to be and the decisions that you make. And I wish I had known this in high school. And my dad and my parents, I come from a great family, would always saying, like, these decisions matter. Like, the things that you do right now are going to affect your life. And you never really think that way, because when you're young, you think you're going to live forever, and you just have this innocent or immature outlook. And so when I was in my mid-20s, I got in some trouble, and basically had to choose which direction that I was going to go in. And I get emotional talking about it, because ultimately I chose the hard path. Which, I had to kind of drop the friends that I was hanging out with and really reinvent myself. My saving grace was I had a great job, and I had a great boss who believed in me and kind of supported me through a lot of this. And then after I decided to make the change and to go down a different path, I started meeting different people, great people, supportive people. And what I learned through that too is that, a lot of great people, and I think most people have made a lot of mistakes, and it's not so much what you did, but it's how you respond to it. And if you're willing to change and make some of those changes and grow from them. And obviously, if you can not make the same mistake twice, that's really helpful.
Yeah, for sure.
And so it led me down this path of I used to be in operations. And so I used to work at a horse race track. There's only a few of them around here. But in Toronto, a great boss named William, who like they always say too, like, your first boss is so important. So he taught me like work ethic, and like I used to work so hard for this guy. I didn't make any money, but I used to work so hard, and I learned a lot. And then that just kind of led me down this great path, getting other jobs with increasing roles of responsibility. And really, I do feel like everything that I've done in my life has led me to this point, which has prepared me to own my own business. And because it is so hard, and you never, like, every day is different. Someone, whether you have a customer issue, whether it's your fault or not, or there's a misunderstanding. And so through all of those experiences, it's what I learned is, it's not what you've done or the mistake that you made, whether it's in business or your personal life. It's how you respond and how you react and how you move forward. And I think, all the lessons that I had that from my tough stuff, which again, self-inflicted, have made me a great business owner. And I like to think that, I'm a good boss too. And hopefully my family thinks I'm a good dad.
Well said, brother. Well said. Really hard not to like you, man. You're just a good guy. Goddamn.
I'm like, I get all like emotional too. And I just like, not that it's so unintentional, but like, this is my life. I've worked so hard and I've taken so many risks and sacrifices to get to where I am. And like, man, right? Like ups and downs. And so I think taking all that in stride and stuff, it just teaches you to be a better human. And I've got, through this whole thing, I conduct myself like this with everybody. And I don't mind sharing my story. And I find that when you do share your story, you relate to people and people want to help you. And so when I first started my business, I would just say, like, I just started this business. I'm doing this. Like, what would you do? And asking people for advice. Oh my goodness. Other business owners just come to help you. And like, it's really cool what you do too. Like, just of helping other business owners get their name out there. And so again, just all part of the journey, but you meet so many cool people along the way. So I think a lot of people are scared to put themselves out there and really share their story. It served me well.
Well, look, if you need a break from the kids at whatever point, you just call me up, man, and come over here, man. We'll have some beers and a steak. I got no problem with that. So,
Oh, I thought you were saying like I can send my kids over.
no,
We're gonna take that one. I'll do it tonight.
babysitter, the wife, you over, wine, steak. That's what I'm talking about.
Love it. I love that. We're like you said, man. We're cut from the same cloth, and I think that would be fun.
I really resonated a lot with the boss thing that you were saying. I have a past of being bullied a lot. I was bullied in elementary school, then I was bullied in high school. I was forced to be suspended because I had to fight to protect myself because he was really, really bad. And then again, because that person was spreading falsified information and ruining my reputation amongst everybody in the school. I went to a school of like 354. My graduating class was like 60 kids. So it's not like, some of these big schools have, 3,500 kids there, and you don't see always the same person all the time. It's like you're seeing the same people all the time. And then getting out into my first kind of real job. And I worked, his name was Ed, an absolute wonderful gentleman. Taught me a lot of things. And even when when I messed up, he was always so good about it. And I'll always remember that. And I want to, be able to treat people that way. I eventually got promoted in that job, worked for a bully. That person ended up leaving because of what ended up happening to me. And so that, the predecessor wasn't involved anymore, but somebody new came up. They were cut from the same cloth. He did it to me. I got a stomach ulcer. It gave me the shingles at like 21, which is just crazy, right? And then I got in the car business for 9 years, learned how to lead. Still got bullied through fear on stuff. Still have a respect for that individual, but just crazy stuff, right? And then finally getting an opportunity to be a business owner, and I really know what not to do and how not to treat people. So we try to take that our approach every day. And to be honest, like I haven't come across anybody in our business community that's like that at all. We have really, really, really good businesses here in Barrie and across Simcoe County. It's pretty amazing to see. And I've had some people like come up through, somebody who's new, somebody who moved here looking to get into business, or just a fresh business owner. They're looking around going like, oh my God, it's like the people here, the culture here. This is like, we didn't have any of this down south. And it's awesome, man. It's awesome being here.
I agree. Like I was kind of saying, Barrie is it's such a great like tight knit community, and I really do feel like they support local businesses. And so if they know that you're local and they're just that much, I agree with you. And I'll touch on something else that you were kind of talking about, like the bullying and my why and kind of why I went down a rough path is I'm actually a twin, and so I was always, more on the athletic side, and I was gifted, and though everybody's gifted in some way, everybody's good at something, not everybody's, and nobody's good at everything. And so I was always gifted in the athletic side of things. My brother was super smart. Like we'd be in the same class messing around, I'd get like a 60. He's getting like a 90. He's not even listening either, and so like through that whole thing, but then I was always trying to find my way. And so it's very hard being a twin, and people don't talk about this very much, but everybody, when you're in school, you've got your peer group, right? And you kind of find your balance somewhere in there, and that just naturally happens. But then at your house, when you're a twin, you've also got someone with the same DNA or very similar DNA that you're also compared against. And so it can be a tough thing. And so one of the reasons why I was going down that rough path or that different path was to separate. My brother was doing, the athletic thing and all that kind of stuff. And then I just went down a little bit of a darker path. I didn't even it was almost like I didn't even want to, but it was just kind of that. And then as I've grown up, I started like, why am I the way that I am? And I just started unpacking some of that stuff. And I don't know why I got like super personal at the end here, but that, so like the bullying thing. And again, it makes you who you are. Right. And so like, I'm super happy with who I am. And I think you are too.
100%, man. 100%. So tell me one thing. What's one thing that you wish our listeners knew about your business? If you had to pick one.
I think I laid a lot of it out there. I think the biggest thing is that we care, and the biggest and really, I don't care if the job takes longer. It's not about the hours, and it's about the quality of the work. And my guys know that. We've been in situations where we're into a house and it is so bad and so dirty. And because we generally do 2 bookings a day, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. And these guys will call me and be like, Rich, like, I can't make it to the second appointment. And so, I have multiple vans and things like that. So sometimes I can reallocate some resources and go and get that. Or sometimes I need to call that customer and just say, hey, Mr. Customer, we've got we have an issue with the first house. We need to stay there longer. We're not going to be able to make it to your place today. And sometimes they're a little bit upset, but when you explain the why, they get it. And really it is, the way you do anything is the way you do everything. And so if I know that while I might have one upset customer because of that, I know that I have a raving customer, knowing that we spent 6 or 7 hours in their house trying to fix a problem, because we get called in and we don't know what we're walking up against. We don't know what we're walking into. Right. So sometimes you just need to figure it out. And the jobs get big. Like sometimes we're cleaning these big, like 3,500 square foot house. Like we cleaned we cleaned a couple 20,000 square foot houses. They got 4 or 5 furnaces in there and stuff like that. These are multiple day jobs. Yeah. And those ones I go and I inspect and I quote them. There's no surprises there. But some of these bigger houses, like you get into, the HRVs and stuff like that. And homeowners are just like, oh yeah, because everybody, they don't know. So they call and they book and they just think they have a regular house and it's like this palace, right? So anyway, that's the biggest thing I think is just, it's all about the quality of the work. And I think everything, if you do a good job, no matter what, you do what you say, you show up on time, you communicate effectively, the rest takes care of itself.
Awesome stuff. Well, amazing conversation. I think the amount of information that was given in this show today, and even on the scam, like how that scam that's going on, how that works, super informative stuff. Certainly there's going to be some people that are interested, want to get to know you a little bit more, want to learn a little bit more about the business, or maybe they're in need of your service. For those who are interested, what would be one of the best ways that they can go ahead and reach you?
You can just use one of the best ways. You can Google us. So you just Modern PURAIR, Barrie, or if you're in the region, we're going to pop up. We have ModernPURAIR.com, and we try and make it as easy as possible for you to kind of book with us and get information. We have a customer care team that'll field any questions that you have if you want to call in. And then we also have there's a lot of people who know what they're getting into, have had their systems cleaned before, and you can just easily book online. And then I'm always available too. So I'm very much ingrained in this business. As I'm sure you can tell, I breathe it, every day, all day. Right. And I love it. So I do a lot of, I do a lot of customer facing stuff too,
Awesome stuff. Well, that was great conversation, great human being, great business. Really had fun doing that, man. That was a good time.
Me too. Thank you so much for having me. I didn't know what to expect. I watched a couple of the other ones, but you never know how it's going to go. And I don't know how, so like I said, just kind of going with the flow, and I'm happy with the way it worked out. This is great.
Rock and roll, brother. Well, you enjoy the rest of your day. Say hi to the kiddos, and I'm sure we'll see you out there.
Thanks so much.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast Midhurst. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpmidhurst.com. That's gnpmidhurst.com, or call 705-413-3775.